Hello, today we are going over our first section in Chapter 1 of Algebra 2. This section deals with the properties of numbers. If you notice here on this first slide, we have a big group of numbers called real numbers. Now, those real numbers can be split up into two groups or two subgroups. The first group being rational numbers. Rational numbers are going to make up the majority of the real numbers there is. Rational numbers can be written as fractions or decimals. Now, when they are written as a decimal, that decimal does not terminate, it does not end, and it could also repeat or have a pattern to them. So, for example, 0.3 or 3/10 repeating. Okay, it repeats. It has a pattern. Okay. That's -1. That's similar to -1/3. Now, inside of rational numbers, we can also break down, a lot of numbers there into integers. Integers are positive and negative whole numbers. Non-integers are numbers that aren't whole numbers, so it could be a decimal or a fraction. But remember, that decimal has to either repeat or it has to terminate. Inside of rational numbers, we have whole numbers and negative numbers. Okay. Now, the other subgroup of real numbers is called irrational numbers. Irrational numbers are going to make up a small portion of these numbers. They cannot be written as a fraction, and if they are a decimal, they do not terminate or repeat. Okay, so radical 2, and then the one that everybody should know is pi. 3.14 goes on forever and ever. It has no repeats. It has no patterns. This next slide has a different graphs. Graph these numbers on a number line. If you notice that first graph, or that first number line, -3 and 2, there is no starting point. So we need to make sure we put a starting point. A universal starting point on a number line is 0. 0 is the easiest number for us to plot on a number line, because it splits all positive and all negative numbers. So I'm just going to go ahead and put 0 right in the middle. Okay, right there. Now, -3, all negative numbers are to the left. So -1, -2, -3, and +2. So 2 is 2 points away from the right side of 0. So 1, 2. These should be pretty simple. 5.5, radical 7, and -75 hundredths, or -0.75. Now, we will not be able to plot these exactly on the number line, because if you notice, your graph here is not split up into tenths, hundredths. Okay? It's not split up into those. So we just have to find, estimate where they are. 5.5 is right in between 5 and 6. Okay, somewhere right in there. Radical 7, well, once we figured out radical 7, put it in the calculator, it's around 2.6. So it's in between 2 and 3. And then -0.75, well, it's negative, and it's in between 0 and -1, a little closer to -1. So somewhere right around there. Okay. So just basic plotting points on a basic number line. Properties of addition and multiplication. Commutative property of addition and multiplication, all we're doing is just rearranging the order. Okay? We're just rearranging the order of these. A plus B becomes B plus 7. A plus B equals B plus A. We've just changed the order of those. Okay? Look, the A came first in multiplication, B comes second. Well, on the other side, it's flipped around. So commutative property, make sure that we label it commutative property of addition if it is addition or multiplication. Associative is we're changing the group's order around and we're changing the group. Okay, in the first group here, we have A plus B. And then we have to do that first through order of operations. And then we'll add C. On the other side, we're going to add B plus C first, then add A. So all we did was change our order and changed our order of operations. Same exactly with multiplication. Identity property, well, identity, I think of that as, that's myself, that's me. You're not changing your identity. So addition, we add 0 to something to not change that number. Like 5 plus 0 is still just 5. Multiplication, we have to multiply something by 1. Okay? When we multiply something by 1, it doesn't change that number. It stays the same. Inverse property is where we do the opposite. Okay, for addition, we want it to add up to 0. And for multiplication, we want it to multiply to 1, positive 1. And in that case, A can never equal 0, because we can't have 0 in a denominator. And the last type is distributive. Remember, distributive property, we distribute. Okay? We multiply. Distributive is multiplying. So let's look at this first one. 25 times 1 equals 25. Well, if you notice, we're multiplying, so it has to be some type of multiplication property. And we're multiplying it by 1. That number is not changing, so it's still the identity property of multiplication. And you notice I kind of, just shorten multiplication. I don't want to have to rewrite it all the time. 7 plus 4 equals 4 plus 7. Well, we're adding, so it's going to have to be some type of addition. Okay, but what are we doing? All we're doing is just changing the order up, so it's commutative property. Commutative property of addition. Now the next one, 4, parentheses 2 plus 3 equals 4 times 2 and 4 times 3. Well, if I notice here, 4 times 2, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 3. What am I doing? I'm multiplying those, so, and this is a form of distributive property. Okay, and then the last one, 5 plus 9 plus 12. Well, I have to do that first because it's order of operations on the left side. On the right side, I have to do that first. So we are changing the order up, but we're also changing the order of operations. So this is an associative property of addition. Okay. Remember, you can stop, pause this video at any time and want to come back to something else, you can. Now this next slide deals with some language that we use in math. When we find the sum, that means we have added. Okay? So when you find the sum of two numbers, you have to add. When you find the difference, think about what we do. We find the difference. Subtract. The product means to multiply. And quotient means to divide. Now this all should be reviewed. It's just, kind of going over it quickly, okay? Math is a language. Once you know the background and the meaning of that language, I believe it really becomes easier. So now this slide, let's perform these operations. What is the sum? So I have to add. Sum of 3 plus 5. So 3 plus 5 is 8. Pretty basic. So from these words, I made a math sentence. 3 plus 5 equals 8. What is the difference of 6 and negative 1? Difference means I'm going to subtract. So 6 minus my other number, negative 1. Well, what do you know is two negatives make a positive. So I'd have 7. Okay. The next one, what is the product of 4 and 6? So 4 times 6 equals 24. And then what is the quotient? So I'm going to divide 25 divided by 5 equals 5. Should be pretty simple. This is really a basic review. Now, story problem refreshing. You work 8 hours and earn $60. What is your earning rate? We need to find how much money we make per hour. So I'm going to take $60 and divide it by 8. 60 divided by 8 is $7.50. So $7.50 an hour. Make sure, I'm labeling it, putting the units there. You buy 18 gallons of gas at $3.65 per gallon. Well, 1 gallon costs $3.65. I'm buying 18, so I have to multiply. So make sure I multiply those numbers out. I get $65.70. The last problem goes over like a distance formula. And with distance, we can make a formula that says D equals RT. D stands for distance. R stands for rate. And T stands for time. And we can plug those numbers in if we need to. We can use that. Okay? So distance here, we don't know the distance. We need to find it. Our rate is 2.5 hours times 58 miles per hour. I'm sorry, our time is 2.5 hours times 58 miles per hour. So 58 times 2.5. I get 145 miles. Make sure you label it. Okay? Alright, so that's an introduction to the first section and an introduction on how I do videos. Remember, you can come back here anytime. If you have questions, talk to me in class. Okay? Have a good day.